Today I'm talking about the Altea 402 PH Sport 2019 model. I'm talking about the stabiliser legs. Now they have a scissor lift mechanism on these stabiliser legs and they're quite clumsy. The clearance there is only about 200 millimeters and I think the rear is about 220, so it's not much clearance and it's a very antiquated system. It has a huge worm bolt through it which gets caught up with dirt and all sorts of debris from their travels, and this creates a stopping effect when you're winding the stabiliser legs up and down. So they're not very suited to what I call Australian conditions or anywhere really. They're very old-fashioned, and what we intend to do is to change these over with a modern drop down stabiliser leg, which is commonly used on brands like Jayco and a lot of off-road vehicles. Much easier to use and a entry for winding it up and down from the side, not the front or rear, which is also very clumsy. Here is an example of the drop down stabiliser legs which I'll be using to replace the factory fitted scissor lift on the Altea. Now these have a plate here which I'll remove, and I will do that in a second. Now the plate has been removed and you can see it here just by unbolting these nuts and removing this plate. What we have exposed is the top fitting bracket, and we'll actually run a bolt through here into the Adria flooring and also into the that's on the rear, and on the actual front we'll run it through the actual C channel, so there won't be any issues with strength or causing any issues with the integrity of the van. I'll go through what I actually do on the van, but here are the four legs. In 2024 these can be picked up for approximately $105, $110 each leg. The first job we have to do is remove the old stabiliser leg, and at the front of the van you'll see this nut here. It's 13mm and there's a bolt there, and you need to put I've used a spanner, 13mm spanner at the back here, and for this area here use a shifter or spanner. You need to undo this, and around the front what have we got here? We've got some, I don't know if you can see that, you can see a nut, there's a nut here and there's a nut over here. So same thing, 13mm, remove those, so you've got 3 nuts to remove and bolts, and this assembly should drop out. Okay, I've removed the front stabiliser. Have a look at this. Just dirty and grimy. It's a big cumbersome stabiliser. Yes, it's got a big foot, but you can put a big fit on the new Alko Drop Down stabiliser. These are both from Alko. Now this is interesting, 4.15 kilos for each of the new ones, and the old stabiliser, which we're going to replace, comes in at 6 kilos. So by replacing this unit with this Alko unit, we're probably saving close to 2 kilos per stabiliser, but we've got a much better system, much smaller, much more efficient. So I'm looking forward to fitting this and see how the whole thing turns out. Okay, what we've done now, we have removed all the old stabiliser legs that came with the Adria caravan, and now we've got to prepare for the installation of the new Alko drop down stabilisers. These are the tools that you will require for the installation and the removal of the stabiliser legs. So what I have here is a template of the new stabiliser leg from Alko, and just tells you where the holes are, and we'll use this template to drill the holes for the new Alko stabiliser leg. You'll need some type of pencil or marking tool to mark the actual holes. I use a hole punch or a very small drill bit to drill the actual holes that are here from the template. And as the bolts, these bolts are around 8.8 mil, I'm using a 10mm steel drill bit and 13mm spanner, another 13mm spanner, and I've got a socket set with a 13mm spanner, which is very handy to get a nice tight fitting of the stabiliser leg nuts. So we'll go over now and I'll tell you how I've marked up the stabiliser leg markings. At the front of the van, I've put my template approximately 30mm in front of this bar here, so the crossbar, and I've marked it with a pencil. As you can see, there's the markings, and this is where I will drill my 10mm holes for the stabiliser nuts. Now I've done this for both sides of the front, 30 to 35mm back from here, the template is, and the rear will be very similar. So I'm at the rear now, I'm on the actual driver's side rear, and with the template I've actually marked up. Now my starting point is from the rear here, from this plate, and you'll see inside, I think this is 130 or 134, you'll see inside what my measurements are from the rear. You must remember, on the passenger side you have the step. So with the step I've actually pulled back the stabiliser leg so that it can fold back at the rear here. So it can fold either forwards or backwards, but I'll advise you of the measurements inside. Okay, here are the measurements that I've used. So for the front of the van, and there's the rear, and you can see I've done 130 from the rear, 110 from the passenger side, at the front of the van from the bar, the crossbar, 34 and 30. These are approximate figures. You can actually, with your template, work out your own spacings if you want, but this is what I found to be ideal. And this is also copied from another van which has had the drop down stabiliser legs fitted. So I'll now commence and drill those holes in and install one of the legs and show you what it looks like. Okay, I've installed the front passenger side, and as you can see it tucks under very neatly, much better ground clearance. The rear stabiliser will be different because you've got to go through the actual flooring, which is about 38mm thick. Look, here's an example of the finished product. The bolts and washers are actually placed through the flooring, which is 38mm thick, and underneath see, hopefully you can see where the bolts come through and the nuts are attached. It's fantastic. Look at this, easy access from the side. Now this is very, very easy work. Now you can see when we took out the old stabilisers, there the previous holes, I filled them with a gap filler, and I'm going to paint black tar underneath. Here's the new holes I've got here, galvanised galvanised bolt and a washer to give you an example of what's going to happen. So it's going to go in there, and from underneath we're going to bolt on the stabiliser leg from Alko, the new one. Okay, I've finished the installation of the new stabilisers, and I'm going to show you how easy it is using them. Look how well it sits underneath that. Okay? Clearance is improved by at least, I would say, 80 millimeters. But let's drop it and see what happens. Eh? Look how easy this is. Look at that. That's covered. That is wonderful. And the wind is here. So we're only talking about a very short distance from the side. Easy access. And because I'm holding the camera, I'm just going to show you how easy it is to pull up with my foot. Pull it in. It's up. That is amazing. I wish they had these on all the new ones. Much simpler. And we're saving 8 kilos. And if you're worried about the spread of the weight over 2 bolts, remember, before you had 3 bolts, 6 kilos. Now you've got 2 bolts, 4 kilos. So you're still carrying 2 kilos per bolt. And please, when you're under the van, please use a face mask, because you'll have filings from drilling onto your face. So it's very important. This is the type of face mask I use when I'm drilling. It's $5 on eBay, not a problem. And on each of the actual stabilizers, there's 2 bolts. On one of the bolts, I do use some Loctite. So I think they're pretty sturdy and much easier to use. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Any questions, just please ask.